Welcome everyone to our daily Forex market analysis call, and this is in preparation for trading on March 16th, 2018. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. This is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so as usual, we'll start off by taking a look at our calendar here from Forex Factory. In terms of our data today, we just have Swiss National Bank monetary policy statement. They didn't really change anything. And then other than that, not a whole lot that happened in terms of our news here. Oh, 1 second, please. We did have Philly Fed Manufacturing Index and Empire State Manufacturing Index. One came positive, one came slightly negative, but that was it in terms of data. And then we had long-term purchases here. Okay, so going into tomorrow here, again, not a whole lot. We do have CPI numbers out of the Eurozone, even though it says orange here, CPI numbers, which is the inflation. Those numbers are important. So keep an eye on them if you're trading the London session tomorrow. And then we have foreign securities purchases and manufacturing sales for Canadian dollar. Building permits here, these are important numbers for the US because they speak to the state of the economy. If the housing permits or building permits are good, they are a leading indicator for new home sales. So that's why these numbers are important. And that's pretty much it. We do have consumer sentiment number, which normally has an impact on the US dollar as well, but not a ton of red news, so mild in terms of that. So let's go on to our charts here. We will start off by taking a look at our, we'll start with Euro US dollar. So yesterday we had talked about how price was holding below this 123.96, about 12400, and we were looking at price to drop. And the reason was that price was making lower highs. It was staying below this trend line. So that's what we saw today. We saw euro dollar drop, very nice bearish candle. As a result of that, I'm looking for price to drop further. The first target would be 122.70 number right here. Next one will be 1.2200. So I'm looking for price to drop, and we could get a pullback here into the pivot point and then a drop. So a potential move could look something like this. So pullback into pivot point, which is also our support and resistance right here, or slightly higher than that. And then a drop from there. So we'll keep an eye on that. But overall, the biases to the downside. So euro close really, really low. And if it doesn't really pull back substantially, then we're looking for a further drop. So if we take a look at our 1 hour, for example, here, see how low it closed. So it could just flag here and drop, or it could pull into the pivot point and then drop further. Biases to the downside. Same thing for pound here. This was the trade that we took this morning, looking at it dropping. So now we have seen 3 days where price did not break above the high, which means that we're likely to see a drop here. So in this case, I'm looking for price to drop, and the target for pound dollar would be 138.80 level to the downside, back into this pin. So biases to the downside, and this is where we are. See how price was trading in this range. So I had the support and resistance level right here. So this is what price did, basically went into the high and then drop. And this is where we had shorted it this morning, and it had dropped. So we had a nice trade to the downside. It went and tested this level again and then dropped again from there. So now it's sitting low. So chances are it's putting pressure on the support. So chances are it will go through and then go drop further. So basically this is the type of move I'm looking, a drop through support and then pull back into this previous support and resistance level. So support turning resistance and then looking for price to drop. So the bias is to the downside. However, what it may do here is pull back into the pivot point and then do a drop, because we also have this support and resistance level here, and then do one of these moves to the downside. Overall, though, bias is to the downside for pound dollar as well. Aussie dollar, a huge drop. So this trade, we had this trade on from yesterday, and this, I think we got about 45 pips in this trade as well. A nice trade, and as we can see, it really dropped today. It kind of hung around for a long time before it dropped here, and once it fell through the support, it just kept on going. And there was a potential for more, but it was just hanging around for so long. So here, huge drop here, big bearish engulfing candle close. So now looking for a further move to the downside. First target would be 77.50 level, and then we are looking at 77.20 level to the downside. But from this bias right now, it's not even pulling back. It's just pressure is to the downside, and I'm looking for a further drop in Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar, similar story. This one also, we had a trade that I took out a couple of days ago with a small profit, and today it just dropped. And now we are looking for, the bias is very much to the downside. We have big bearish engulfing candle and looking for a further drop here. 72.20 level will be the target to the downside. It could go lower into 7,200, so 0.7200. So this is where we are. Normally I would look for a pullback into pivot point. Hasn't really pulled back because it just closed so low. So just a quick sort of rule of thumb here. When we see prices drop here like this and they stay below the 23% pullback level in our Fibonacci, generally they will drop further. So a lot of times in our daily analysis, I don't draw Fibonacci levels because I just know pivot point is at 38.2 fib level. So we just, I just look at pullback into pivot point and then a drop. So with this one here, when we see that the prices don't pull back more than 23%, chances are they are going to drop. So that's just a sort of a rule of thumb that I have learned. So with the bias here will be to the downside for New Zealand dollar as well. And looks like 7,200 would be our target to the downside. Dollar CAD here, this one is sitting quite high. So we had talked about a break. Somebody had asked this question in the trade room this morning, and we had talked about how prices would break to one side or the other here. So finally we saw that break out of that range. Now with this bullish candle close, I'm looking for a further move to the upside here. The bias is to the upside, but we could see a pullback either into this 130 level or into the pivot point level, which is at 130.20 level. So with this one here, we could see a move like that and then push to the upside. But overall, the commodity currencies are quite weak today. We saw Aussie drop, New Zealand dollar drop, Canadian dollar dropped, so dollar CAD pushed up, and the other two pushed down. So they're weak today, so just keep that in mind. Overall, though, bias for dollar CAD would be to the upside. Euro pound here, the bias is to the downside here as well. Big bearish candle close. We are sitting low here. We have finally broken through the support level, and now price did a back test. So now looking for a further move to the downside. And in this case, the target here, 87.80 level, will be the target to the downside. So bias for Euro pound is to the downside. Euro Swiss franc here. This one, we had talked about how this was bullish, and now it's pushing up into this resistance level here. So it still hasn't broken the resistance level. And as you can see, it has traded in this range for a long time. So now we need to see which way will it break. Will it go up or go down? So in this case, bullish candle close. Again, we need to see a break of this resistance level at 1.17, 1100 level. And if the price breaks to the upside, then we're looking for a further move up. And the next target would be 1.1794. So about 1800 level, which is back into the high here. But at this point, it hasn't broken. Based on the formation here, though it looks bullish. So we have a pull here, price going sideways, which is flag, and then looking for it to move further. So let me just draw this out like this. So this is what it looks like currently. And normally we would look for a further move to the upside. But again, I would wait for price to break above this 1.1711 level and then look at something bullish, because otherwise it's not set up yet. Pound Swiss franc, we finally saw a bullish candle close. There was this pin bar here which did not play out, so we have seen a candle close to the other side. Now this is bullish, and in terms of our next level is to the upside at 1.3299, so about 13300 level. And this is where we are sitting. So this is the same formation on an hourly that we were looking at Euro Swiss franc on daily. So here we are, Euro Swiss franc, bullish consolidation and looking for a bullish break. Here we have bullish consolidating and then looking for a potentially bullish move to the upside here. So in this case, what I'm looking for is a pullback into this level here and then a potential move to the upside. So we'll have to keep an eye here. If it stays above this 1.3240 level, then we're looking for a bullish move to the upside. Overall, though, bias is to the upside for pound Swiss franc. Dollar Swiss franc, same thing here. We've seen a bullish candle close. The next target is, so it's a very bullish candle. Now the next target, first target would be 95.30 level, which is the high here. So we do need to see a candle close on the other side or price to hold on the other side, because otherwise it could just reverse from there. So we could see one of these, which is entirely possible, but looks like there is a lot of strength to the upside. So I would like to see a break, a pullback, and then a move to the upside. So bias is to the upside. So I'm looking for price to break through, pull back, and then go to the next level. So the next level is 95.80, 0.9580 to the upside. So dollar Swiss franc is looking bullish as well. Pound yen. Pound yen is looking short. So we've seen price reject that level. It moved lower, moved all the way down here, which was a nice trade for us. We grabbed 80 pips out of this. So beautiful trade. However, bias is still to the downside. So price is holding below this low. Now I'm looking for price to drop further. First target would be a 147.38 level or 40 level, which is the bottom here. And then if the bias continue or the momentum continues, we could see a move into 146.80 level. So that will be the next level to the downside, but basically the bias is to the downside here. And as we can see, we had talked about how price was making lower highs here, went and tested the high again, and now I'm looking for a drop back into this previous level. And I am looking for a target that's a little bit less, but this is a level that I'm looking for price to get into 147.50. So that's the bias for pound yen. And then dollar yen here, sorry, euro yen here as well. This one had a big, beautiful bearish candle close. Again, a trade that we took. Did close out a little bit early prior to the New York Open or New York news came out, because sometimes that can really mess up the trades. But again, a very nice bearish candle close. We are into support here, but I am looking for price to drop further. The next target here would be a 129.80 level to the downside here. So if we take a look at it from 1 hour perspective, we can see how price had dropped and then consolidated here. We had talked about this S1 level and price kind of pulling back into this level, and price was kind of just held below this, which means that I'm looking for price to drop further. And the bias and the level is 129.80 is kind of the final target there. So I do have these two trades that I have taken into account. So normally when I take two trades, I will split my trade. So right now I have over $6,000. So I like to trade one mini lot for each $1,000 I have in the account. So I split my position. So I'm not putting, I'm not taking twice the risk. So I'm just splitting my position, half in here, half in there, in both of these. So there's a little bit of profit in here for now. So the target and stop loss are set, and we'll monitor this trade. I do need to go away today. I have a Toastmasters meeting to attend. So I'm going to be away. So please monitor the trade. I'm looking forward to I'm looking to move the stop in this to break even, so that at the very least, there will be no chance of a loss. So we should not lose any money on this trade, because price has, as soon as price moves 20 pips here, which is very close to, well, it's a little bit close here. So I'm hoping price will drop here quickly and we can move it to break even. That way the risk is removed from the trade. But please monitor this trade on your own, because I may not be able to monitor. I'll be late by the time I come back. So that's our euro yen. Dollar yen as well, price held below this support, this previous support, now acting as resistance. So this one is biased to the downside as well. Based on the daily close, even though price pushed back all the way, it did not break above this previous support resistance level. So I'm looking for this to drop as well. The first target would be 105.80 level, which is the bottom of this pin. Second target would be 105.50 level. And looking at the 1 hour here, see how price is holding below this previous level, which gives us an indication that price is likely to drop, especially if all the yen crosses drop, this would drop as well. So bias is to the downside. Aussie yen, same story here, big, huge drop. We had talked about these tweezer tops yesterday, or 3 times price tried to break through this 84.20 level, could not do it. And now, so we were looking for a drop. We got that. Bias is still to the downside with this big bearish candle close. First target would be 82.50. And second target would be 8,200 to the downside. So this is our 1 hour. As we can see, price has just been making lower highs and lower lows. It did pull back. But again, the same trick that I was talking about, if you draw your Fibonacci levels here, you will see that it didn't really go above the 23.6 pullback level, which means the momentum is to the downside and chances are it will drop further. So again, bias is to the downside here, and the levels we are watching 82.50 and then 8,200 as the next one. CAD yen, again, a big drop here. Price is right into the bottom here. It looks like it wants to break out. Next target would be 80.80 level. And beyond that, we are looking at 80.50. So bias for CAD yen is also to the downside. Last one, New Zealand yen, big bearish candle close, looking for price to drop here. And the target for this one, the first target would be 76.80, which is not too far. The second target would be 76.20. So those are the 2 targets to the downside. Overall, the bias is to the downside for New Zealand yen as well. All right, any questions or anything to add? Okay, if not, we will call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful evening. There is no London trading session on Fridays, so we do have those 2 trades running. I will keep an eye on it, but please do monitor it yourself, because I'm going to be away this evening. And then I will see you all tomorrow morning for our webinar. And tomorrow we will cover the position sizing, we'll cover about risk and how to manage trades and that type of stuff. Okay, so that's all for now. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the morning then. Bye for now.